Mark Elkins do the 530 grid and help us get a larger quantity of referrals. So give it up for Mr. Mark Elkins.
All right, that's kind of cool, the opportunity fund there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, fasten your seat belts and make sure that your seat backs are in the upright and locked position because we're going to take a trip. And we're going to get a lot of information very quickly, so I want to start out with an overview for those of you who have not been here before. I like to talk about the 530 grid as the simplest business concept I've ever heard, and also the most complex. So if you think about a plane and you're flying over the United States, you can look down and you can see the patchwork quilt. And you know that there's beans and corns and cities and driveways and whatever, and you know that's the patchwork quilt. But you don't see anything specific, and that is the 530 grid. If we look at it from out here, well, there's this grid of business processes. Every business has 5 main areas. They are, and you can find this on page 5 in your book: marketing, pre-sales, the sale, servicing, and client for life. Now, many of you will talk about client for life as client development, but phrasing it as client for life makes it much deeper because it implies a certain amount of loyalty. But if you like to think about it as client development, that's okay to think of it that way, but it's not really. But if it helps you, go ahead. So, we're talking today about building and getting a much greater quantity of referrals. As you fly down in your plane, you will see that there are cities, and you'll start to see lower and lower in here systems for your business. And these systems are what operate your business. As you fly lower and lower in your plane, you will see faces on people. You will see somebody directing the plane in, perhaps. You'll see a baggage cart coming out. You'll see all of the elements that make up your large system, which makes it the reason why I call it the most complex. But it's simple. It's because you've got 5 areas, and you've got to work in 5 areas. So, how do I use this system to generate a large quantity of referrals? And I have to keep reminding myself to think referrals and not leads, right? How many of you got a lot of leads? Yeah, lots of leads. How many of you have a lot of referrals? Yeah, because the referral relationship is also a relationship of trust that's built. We're talking about Area 4 servicing, Box 7, asking for referrals. Ask for referrals all the time. But it's about reaching down into your client for life and building a relationship of trust and loyalty with a customer so that person is willing to give you those referrals and allow you to tap into their database. Now, there's a great program that we've talked about, which is Profitable Partnerships. And this is all about getting to work with other people because you're the best salesperson for their business and they're the best salesperson for your business. Because people respect that relationship of trust that they already have with their friend. Now, if we look at how are we going to get that great quantity of referrals? Who has the biggest database? Right? You want a large quantity. You can get a small quantity at great quality, but if you want large quantity, if that's what we're looking for, we have to identify our targets. So in this case, our marketing efforts are going to be looking at those people who have great big databases. Who has over 1,000 people in their database? Over 10,000. Every hand went down. Over 100,000? Over 1 million? 1.2 million referrals. So who in this room would be a great target if you want to get a large quantity of referrals? Right? Now, do you think, right now, do you feel that there might be some relationship of trust that you have with Mark? And that his other people in his referral database have some relationship of trust with him? So now, if you can tap into that, you're tapping into the relationship of trust. People who know him and have an expectation. I have a friend who is Well, he's a rock star. And one of the things that he really doesn't like is that he meets people, and people they act as if they already know him, right? They've read about his life, they've read about his divorce, they've read about his kid was sick, right? So they come up and say, hey, how are you doing? And they want to talk about this personal stuff. Well, he doesn't know them, but they have this artificial relationship of trust. Those people who are in your database, if they're referrals, they have a relationship of trust, even if it's an artificial relationship of trust, because they have an expectation out of the person who referred them. But you have to identify who those targets are, and you have to develop and deliver a message to get to that person. Now, Mark Boersma has a partner, Tom Coons, who would be a great referral for me. I mean, man, I would love to have that referral. I got a big problem. I don't know what message to deliver to that man. So I'm not ready to accept that referral even yet. So you have to build your systems. You have to build your marketing so that you can identify targets, develop and deliver a message. Box 3, track 100% of your leads so you know what kind of responses and what messages are getting across. You have to build and measure your results, box 10. And when you get results, you have to use box 12 in your servicing area to feed those successes into your referrals so that you continue to build your referral database. And you have to go to people who have large databases. How many of you are members of charitable organizations? Excellent. Charitable organizations have great big databases and great big numbers of people who trust them, right? And if you become prominent in that organization, doesn't that have some transference to you? How many of you have been a member of a PTA? You have to be visible. You can't be just the parent who goes and sits in the back of the room. You've got to be visible. You have to take action. You have to do marketing. You've identified your target, people in the PTA. And it's not necessarily the people in the PTA you want. It's the people that they know. Does the principal come? People in education, does the principal know? Right? Does the big donator come? Does the person who works hardest on all of the causes and knows everybody in the school, does she come? That's the person with the big database. That's the person who knows everybody's email. That's the person who could send out an email for you that puts their name on it and says, hey, Mark's got something going on. You really need to talk to him. I'm going to send him your email. Watch for his message. Right? That's a referral. That's a relationship of trust. Yeah? And that makes it more likely to open up your email. And you've got to ask key questions. So you have to ask people who you are looking for those referrals, you have to ask them the things that they will respond to. You have to build your relationship of trust with that person who is referring. How many of you ever had a situation where somebody said to you in your business, you know, I think my friend Jack would like your services. I'll give him a call and see if he's interested. And if he's interested, I'll give you his number. Has that ever happened to anybody, something similar? Yeah, that's a common thing. Why would that be? Because your person you're asking for referrals from does not have the relationship of trust you thought. And that is because you have not been concentrating on servicing. You've not been asking for the referrals. You have not been working on turning that person, that client, into a profitable partner who's got referrals. And you've not been working on building the client's business besides just taking. It's a reciprocal relationship. Profitable partnerships is about building everybody's business and giving more than you get. Feeding the successes in. So sharing the successes. Telling people what you're going to do. Telling people how something benefited you. Telling people how it benefited others who have gotten that information. This is about building that relationship of trust. And give up your referrals. When you have that relationship of trust, all of you raise your hand, you have big databases. How many of that you have shared those with your good clients who are selling something? No hands went up except for Mark's. So are you not servicing your customer? What's the best thing you can do for your customer besides provide your product or service?
Have them make money.
Help them make money. You know what happens if they make money? They can buy more of your stuff. Right? You know, I'm a landlord, and I always make sure when I bring in a tenant that they got a good car. And I make sure that they go to the best mechanic at the right price. And I make sure that they know about, if it's a low income, I make sure that they know about all of the social services. And when they got a problem, I'm ready to refer them to whomever can help them most. Why? If their car runs, they can get to work. Right? If they got extra help from a social service, they pay the rent. Right? You do printing. Right? If they're doing more business on printing, that helps because of the direct mail. But if you turn over your referrals and they do business because they worked with you, now, we're building client for life. We're building trust. We're building a relationship there. If they leave you and go to another printer, do they get that kind of service? No. They're not going to get your referrals. And they won't be able to lean on that relationship of trust that you have. That's what referrals are all about. So, where can you get the most referrals? Anybody? You can get the most referrals from the largest group of leads. So who's got the most leads that you know about? Mark. But your target. Maybe the people in Mark's group aren't your target. Or maybe only a portion of what Mark's got is your target market. You don't want to send your message to everybody. You're sending the wrong message. Right? So, build your relationships of trust. Service your client by sharing what you have and building the client's business besides just taking their money. So, that's how you can get a lot more referrals, and that's how you use your servicing and your 530 grid to build systems that develop that for you.